G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Delling from the website and YouTube channel Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, I've just published an article titled Lachlan Murdoch bribes Justice Michael Lee in the Bruce Lehrmann defamation matter. Now, Justice Lee in April handed down a judgment finding that Bruce Lehrmann, on the balance of probabilities, did rape Brittany Higgins. But he also attacked Brittany Higgins for making allegations of a political cover-up by the Liberal Party in relation to the rape. And then last week, Justice Michael Lee showed up to a News Corp function, where most of the beneficiaries of that decision in relation to finding that there was no cover-up by the Liberal Party, well, they were at the function. Now, one thing I didn't raise in the article, but someone raised it in the comment section, was were all the federal court judges invited to the function? Well, from what I can tell, no. The only judge who was invited was Justice Michael Lee. And the reason I found out is because his picture was in the paper, or not in the paper, well, it probably was in the paper, but it was on their websites, the Sydney Morning Herald and the Daily Mail. And he was the only judge they took a photograph of, which tends to point to him being the only judge being invited. And why would they invite him? Well, there's a big thank you for the decision and the judgment he handed down in April, finding there was no political cover-up by the Liberal Party. Now, I'll put a picture up on the screen. That's actually a picture of Justice Michael Lee going to the function. And you can see the guilty look on his face. He didn't like having his photograph taken. And there's another photograph in the article, and it's very similar. Now, I'll read out part of the article. The article was published on the 1st of August 2024, and it's titled, Lachlan Murdoch bribed Justice Michael Lee in the Bruce Lehrmann defamation matter. And it starts off, Lachlan Murdoch has openly and publicly bribed Justice Michael Lee to protect the Liberal Party in the Bruce Lehrmann defamation judgment, which became obvious when Justice Lee attended News Corp's celebration of the Australian 60th birthday last Thursday, the 25th of July 2024. The Australian is a newspaper and website owned by News Corp, which is controlled by Lachlan Murdoch and his father, Rupert Murdoch. And I go on to say in the article, yes, that's the same News Corp that has been attacking Brittany Higgins since she went public in February 2021 with being raped at Parliament House, while at the same time defending Bruce Lehrmann and all the Liberal Party players who were involved in the cover-up, such as Senator Linda Reynolds and Fiona Brown. And yes, that is the same News Corp who bribed former Queensland Judge Walter Sofronoff to illegally leak the ACT inquiry report to News Corp propagandist Jeanette Albertson. I wrote in August 2023, a lot of people are asking what motivated Walter Sofronoff, a former judge and Solicitor General of Queensland, to put his career and liberty at risk by breaking the law with his leaking of the ACT inquiry report to Murdoch's Jeanette Albertson. Below we will see the evidence showing some of the benefits that Walter Sofronoff was planning on receiving, and they all linked to News Corp. But firstly, it's worth noting that this is not the first time this exact scam has happened. Bruce Lehrmann's barrister, Steve Whybrow, previously illegally leaked court documents to Jeanette Albertson to embarrass Brittany Higgins and Shane Drumgold, which benefited Bruce Lehrmann. Steve Wybrow's payoff was free promotion for his barrister services via written and video interviews with Jeanette Albertson, published on the Australian's website and YouTube channel. And yes, the same News Corp propagandist Jeanette Albertson, who Walter Sofronoff's subpoenaed mobile phone records show he made 55 phone calls for a total of 7.5 hours to Rupert Murdoch's Australian, mostly with Jeanette Albertson, in their collusion to protect the Liberal Party's cover-up of Bruce Lehrmann's rape of Brittany Higgins. And yes, the same News Corp propagandist Jeanette Albertson, whose relationship with Walter Sofronoff has instigated a criminal investigation, which is still afoot, into Walter Sofronoff for him leaking the ACT inquiry report to Albertson. And yes, the same News Corp propagandist Jeanette Albertson, who met with Senator Linda Reynolds, who was suing Brittany Higgins, and Bruce Lehrmann's barrister Steve Whybrow in Perth 2 days after Justice Lee published his judgment. Steve Whybrow was in Perth to talk at the conference organised by the Institute of Public Affairs. Jeanette Albertson is the chairman of the Institute of Public Affairs, who I assume paid for Bruce Lehrmann's barrister Steve Whybrow to travel to Perth and give a talk at the IPA organised conference. And finally, yes, that is the same News Corp that has been using Justice Michael Lee's judgment in Bruce Lehrmann's defamation case to attack Brittany Higgins since Justice Lee published his judgment on the 15th of April 2024. The bottom line is Justice Michael Lee heard Bruce Lehrmann's defamation case against Channel 10 and Lisa Wilkinson, and Lehrmann lost because Justice Lee found that Lehrmann had raped Brittany Higgins. Justice Lee found both Bruce Lehrmann and Brittany Higgins were unreliable witnesses, but on the central point of rape, he found Brittany was a believable witness. But Justice Lee was also critical of Brittany Higgins' claims of a political cover-up by the Liberal Party, and Justice Lee defended the conduct of former Liberal staffer Fiona Brown and Senator Linda Reynolds. The problem is 95% of the evidence of the cover-up was not before Justice Lee, as he only dealt with the evidence reported in February 2021, interviews Brittany Higgins did with Channel 10's The Project TV show. The vast majority of the evidence of the cover-up came to light after the interview, which Justice Lee never considered, which means he was never in a position to make an informed decision on whether or not there was a cover-up. Justice Lee should have made it clear in his judgment that he was only giving an opinion on whether there was a cover-up based on the very limited evidence before him, which he failed to do. Justice Lee's failure to make that clear could be argued as evidence of perceived bias, if not real bias, against Brittany Higgins, Channel 10 and Lisa Wilkinson. Then a couple of months after the judgment, Justice Michael Lee shows up to News Corp's celebration of the Australian 60th birthday, where a lot of the beneficiaries of Lee's defence of the Liberal Party in his judgment were in attendance. Benefit to Justice Lee of going to News Corp's celebration of the Australian 60th birthday? A lot of judges, when they retire, go back to being barristers. So maybe Justice Lee thought it was a great networking opportunity for his future financial benefit. Or maybe Lee just wanted a free feed. Also, once you're in Murdoch's tent, they look after you. But no need to speculate, because I sent Justice Lee some questions as per in the article, and let's see what he has to say. Now, you can go to the article and you can read that email and read the questions I sent to Justice Lee. But at this point in time, he hasn't responded. And you can have a look at the other picture in there of Justice Lee going to the function as well. Both of them, he's got a very guilty look on his face. He knows he's in a lot of trouble. And in the article, there's a lot more information, because I point out that him attending can potentially have an impact on two court cases that are currently afoot. Firstly, Bruce Lehrmann's appeal. Now, Bruce Lehrmann might use it as perceived bias, Justice Lee going to the News Corp function, and with all the Liberal Party players who benefited from Justice Lee's decision. But Lisa Wilkinson and Channel 10 were also heavily criticised by Justice Lee, and they're sort of cross-appealing parts of Justice Lee's judgment, and they might use him attending that function as perceived bias. And Senator Linda Reynolds is suing Brittany Higgins and her husband, David Shiraz, and that starts on the Friday the 2nd of August, tomorrow. And she's made it clear in public statements that she's going to prove that there was no cover-up. And there's probably a fair chance she might refer to Justice Lee's decision. Well, her lawyers will, or barristers will. And if that's the case, well, Brittany Higgins' barristers could argue, well, there's perceived bias there, Your Honour. Justice Lee showed up to that function, so anything he said in his judgment should be discarded. Now, I'll put a link to that article below this video on YouTube, so you can click on the link and go to the article. And make sure you do. There's a lot more information in there, a lot more details, a lot of links you can click on to verify some of the stuff I've said. And make sure you share this video on social media. And Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media. I publish a website and a YouTube channel, and I'm 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself. So please support my Patreon account. I currently have 437 patrons, and I need to get up to roughly 600 patrons to become financially viable. So I've got roughly 160 odd to go. So please support that. You can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. It all helps out in a big way. Or you can support me on PayPal, or you can click on the link to other donation options. And please hit the like and subscribe button. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.